So, my project was to take a group of people to Cheddar Gorge, where we were going to go for a hike, and we were going to talk about some cool themes, some ideas and stories from the Bible, especially out of the Exodus story surrounding Moses and the burning bush, and coming out of exile in Egypt, Mount Sinai, all the stuff that's burning, and journey. Those are some of the concepts we're talking about. Hills we're walking up as a group just seems to go up and up and up. I think for those who really weren't used to hiking, this is a bit of a struggle. And we went down. Once we got to the top of the hill, the fire tree, the chunk of wood, and all kinds of other little things. We actually saw sheep just in this little shrub just off the side here, and everybody was crowded around it right over this substantial cliff here. It was one of those moments where all the parents their toes were curling and saying, get back, and then some of the parents and the adults were like, oh, let's give it a shot too. Reflection 1. In Exodus, Moses sees a tree on fire. When he explores it, he realizes the tree is not being burnt up by the fire. Gets closer, and God speaks to him. He tells him to take off his shoes because the ground is holy. Where do you see fire? But then I had some people point out this one particular twiggy, sticky tree. It stuck out at all angles, again, like the other ones, but this one sort of sat on its own. And everyone said, oh, this is like that burning tree thing, isn't it, Bryce? From here, we actually talked about the hill being on fire, the hill of Mount Sinai, this other mountain that God called to Moses from. In fact, it was the one that he called the people of Israel into something new as well. Reflections 2. Later, while Moses is leading the nation of Israel, God calls him up a mountain, but the mountain is on fire. Moses doesn't get burned. And God tells Moses his name and says that he'll make the people holy. Carrying on from the Abrahamic covenant, calling on the promise, leading them out of one thing and into something else. What's on fire in your life is the question. In all of this, I'm noticing there's a whole lot of other things that could be drawn on. I'm recognizing maybe that crossing a street, we could be talking about crossings, exiting coming out of Egypt, things like this. I went here where we had to take shelter under some trees. There's a few of the faster people got there first and spotted this amazing sheltered spot, and it was perfect for those who really just needed to chill out. It was in this place I was thinking, maybe I should have, I didn't, but I should have pulled out the grumbling and complaining of the Israelites as they're experiencing desert for the first time. My wife just said she's with the Israelites and they're grumbling, wandering in the desert, and had it so good in Egypt. Why have you dragged us out here? We could have had water and wine and fish. I can't remember exactly what they asked for, but lots to reflect on. They said we could have had a latte, land flowing with milk and honey and all that. One young woman, she found this charred piece of wood, sort of shone with the sun, and all the little sparkly bits where it had all gone carbonized and things like this shone. I was thinking about one of the themes that we were focusing on was, where are the fire places? What's on fire in your life? And things like this just started to pop their head up above the parapet. So as we went down, we came to this point where, right towards this road, and this would have been another good point to maybe talk about the Red Sea, and crossing the Red Sea and being led by a pillar of smoke and then a pillar of fire at night and things like this. So this could have been a good opportunity to talk about that. We went on a little bit further, and
we again had to do a whole lot of up. For a lot of other people, this was the last thing they wanted to see, more up.
So this is the stretch of the unhelpful stairs, where the stairs on the side of the path both work just as good.
I was thinking about some of the Israelites who were struggling with the constant slog of following the path, following what Moses had called them to, and this Yahweh that they were now coming back to following, going back in the Abrahamic sort of way. So I thought that was an interesting little recognition there.
Reflection 3. Later, God has Moses set up a meeting tent where God can be among the Israelites, and they can see God speak with Moses, and he can live among the people. God's presence is like a cloud of fire in the tent. There's a lot of moments where God's presence, God's spirit, is like a cloud of fire, his glory. So the question is, where do you go? What do you do to meet with God?
I heard going back down again, and as you go down in Cheddar, down the path, you pass this cave. But I was thinking about that point when Moses kind of pleads with God to show him his glory. And God says, I'll tell you what, I'll put my hand over a cave or over a cleft in the rock, and I'll go past. And just as I get beyond, as he got beyond, he pulls his hand away, and Moses saw the glory of God. Was reminded of that one moment when God has Moses take the 72 leaders, the 12 clan leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel, etc., up the mountain, which was off limits, generally speaking. But in this instance, it was allowed. These people were called up to this place to see God. They go up there and they see God seated at or above the top of the mountain, stood with his feet on like a pavement, like blue pavement, lapis lazuli or sapphire or something like that. And I just think that this sort of had a reminiscence of some of that, going up these places, taking people up a hill, up a slope. So I should skim over that quickly. Coming back down, more unhelpful stairs. This is after we've been through most of the journey. We're coming towards the end. And I was thinking about those times when maybe the Israelites were just ready to be done. This whole thing had stopped being fun a long time ago. You can see in the distance it's at the top of this image, but in our situation that's actually down. You can see the end in sight. This was one of those hopeful moments when the young people who really wanted to go fast, just wanted to get through this thing, they could. We'd promised somewhere in the middle of this that ice cream was in the plan. And yeah, we had some slow people, some things had slowed things right down, and I was actually concerned that we might miss out on the ice cream because it was getting so late.
The reflection on Isaiah says, generations later, the prophet Isaiah has a vision where an angel makes holy his unclean lips with a coal from the fire. He is now known as one of the most accurate and poetic prophets in all of Hebrew scripture. What in your life needs cleansing fire? Getting around the corner to the land of milk and honey, or ice cream, which is down there in the town. Past the last reflection. As we go through life, we encounter fire moments. These are places where God is trying to get your attention, because he wants to meet with you, because he wants a relationship with you, because he is calling you to do something with your life. Where are those fire moments? What in your life needs a cleansing fire? Where do we go, and what do we do to meet with God? Where do you see fire?
And we had to send out some people just to scout it out, because they were faster and because they kind of knew the area, and just to make sure that things were open.
Down here in the distance, you see the ice cream place. This is that land of milk and honey that we were promised.
This one scout, or a couple of scouts, they went off and they found this ice cream shop, which was incredibly welcome. Which once we finally went there, finally got to this place, I think we all enjoyed it, and it was one of those times and places where everyone was just wiped. It was that land of milk and honey point when, yeah, you could enjoy it, but really we've just been through quite an ordeal, and we need to. Well, it'll take some time to recover. Then we made our journey back through town, along the road, through the houses, and right the way back to basically to the beginning. We completed the journey. As I come to the conclusion of this little journey, I realize I've missed some things that might be hot topics that might actually really benefit this whole story. We can't redo something we've already done. We can't rewrite history. I think my strengths were, this is a good idea. I think bringing people into the outdoors and doing something adventurous and something a bit risky, or maybe new, maybe just fun and communal. These things make space for a story to be told well. I think they open the door to reflection in a way that just direct speech doesn't. It kind of it becomes the landscape and the props and the stage for the story to be told from. The thing that I really appreciated about this that I don't think I'd quite appreciated when I was planning it before, the after story. I appreciate that I don't know the landscape well enough sometimes. I know the story well, but do I know it well enough to be able to recognize it when I see it, when it becomes tangible? I think had I done this, had I gone through this again, had I planned this and prepared it, I think I might have gone through the whole route. I might have taken notes. I might have gone prepared with more Bible verses, specific Bible passages that I really wanted to highlight, and done a bit of research, a little bit more in depth than I had, which I thought I was well prepared for. But yeah, once I got there, I recognized that I may have come up short. So that was some of my critique. The big thing I really wanted to make sure of was that I didn't just want to be flatly telling a story and missing the other stories, the stories that others tell to me, not just me as a storyteller to them, but that others are telling to me as they're reflecting or as they are noticing things. So in things like this tree over here, they noticed this tree before I did, and they started saying things like, that could have been our fire tree, or they noticed this goat sitting in a tree, and they thought, well, that sounds like Moses. Didn't he was goat herder or sheep herder or something, right? And little things like this charred piece of wood. I couldn't have chosen that. I couldn't have planned that at all.
With some of these analogies is that, we could say, this is a good analogy, this is a good analogy, this is a good analogy. They're all great analogies, sure. You could draw from them, you could, as you're in the middle of a situation, you could start picking up on them. But the real question is, are you reading, are we reading our context based on the Bible? Are we reading the Bible with our context in mind? And you can say, oh, this is a great analogy, this is a great analogy, whatever, but it might not actually be right for the situation. You might be in a situation where you're like, oh yes, I'm going to draw on this and everyone's going to like it. But yeah, we don't want to force these things on people, and it needs to actually be poignant for the situation.
These things, they kind of turn the light back on me, back on others, to say, the story is being told in us and through us, to us, not just to us. And that's really hopeful. That means I don't have to worry about my inadequacies or whatever else, but that maybe God is revealing things through us, revealing something of himself to us in a new way.